What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another 2-Minute Tuesday. In this video, I want to dive into visualization. What is it? How does it work? Has it actually been proven to work? Do I do it? And if I do it, what are my techniques? So, welcome to the video. All right, guys, first off, the classic disclaimer before I talk about this topic. I am not a sports psychologist. I've never been a sports psychologist. I have no formal education in sports psychology. Everything I'm about to share with you, I've learned through talking with sports psychologists, through my own research, and just randomly stumbling into these techniques and finding out that they work. So without further ado, let's put the time on the screen. Let's once again ignore it completely. And let's get started. First off, what is visualization? Visualization is basically using your imagination to create a very real and vivid picture of a particular experience. And that experience can be anything. That experience can be going into your coach's office and having a discussion about why you're not starting. That experience can be just you at the field by yourself, working on your crosses, whipping them into the box over and over again. Or that experience can be that first day on trial with a new team and you walk into the locker room, greet people, sit down, change, and you get ready for your first training session. And the goal behind visualization can really just be boiled down to repetition. The more you do something, the better you get at it, and the more confident you are with it, and the less nerves you have about it. And by repeatedly doing those things, whether that's in the real world or just in your head, you're going to improve in those areas. And it sounds almost stupid, but the scientific literature actually supports that. So in this famous research study from Alvaro Pascual-Leon, he instructed a group of volunteers to basically practice the piano. 2 hours a day for 5 days, this group of volunteers just practiced this piano exercise. After a week, daily tests of the brain showed that the area of motor cortex devoted to the finger movements had expanded in the brain. He then extended the experiment to another group. But with this group, instead of actually going and physically practicing the piano, he said for 2 hours a day for 5 days, you're just going to imagine yourself practicing this exercise. And what's crazy is that the test data showed that the motor cortex had expanded in the same way, proving that the mental practice had the same effect as physical practice. By just imagining a process, by imagining a skill and training that process in your brain, you can make real world improvements in that skill. I probably visualize for 15 to 20 minutes a day. And it's nothing crazy. And honestly, after doing more and more of this research, I want to visualize even more. But typically, most of my visualization is right before I go to bed. When I'm lying in bed, about to fall asleep, I just imagine myself doing actions that I want to improve in. And those actions I really want to improve in are stuff like the ball's coming into me, a cross switching ball from my midfielder. I'm imagining myself at the sideline. I'm bringing down the ball, and then I'm going 1v1 against that fullback, maybe doing a step over, dip of the shoulder, pushing it down, getting a half a yard of space, and then whipping it across into the box. Another big one I do is just defending 1v1 on the wing because I'm a fullback. So a lot of it is just that attacker going 1v1 against me, cutting inside sometimes, doing a move, going down the line, and me just preparing, reacting, moving, and defending against that winger. I also like to visualize before every single game. I always in the locker room will visualize, for a minute, 2 minutes briefly. It's not like I'm locking myself in a dark room and meditating and separating myself from the team, but just while I'm thinking about the game, I'll just put my head down and start imagining those scenarios that are about to happen in the game just to prepare myself mentally for what I want to do. And one thing that I do that really, really helps me as well is I even visualize while I'm playing. And this is like really, really brief visualizations that take place in half a second of time. Very, very quick visualizations. And one huge example of this is when I receive the ball on the wing and I bring the ball down and I trap it and I'm looking inside into the box. I immediately look where my teammates are, where the space is, and where that defender is in front of me. And very, very quickly, half a second, a few milliseconds, I just imagine the trajectory of the ball. Do I want to curl this one in? Do I want to float this to the back post? Do I want to whip this one in, drive it on the ground? What's that ball look like? And how am I going to hit that ball into the box? And I visualize it in a split second. And then I just whip in the cross and try to replicate what I'm imagining. But that's not the only benefit of visualization. There's a ton of extra benefits that come along with this technique. The next big benefit to visualization is that I think it helps improve improve focus and that flow state. The very first time that you go into a room, you dim the lights, you sit down and you really try out visualization, you're gonna find that it's actually pretty difficult. It's hard to stay focused for 10 to 15 minutes on just crossing the ball over and over again, focusing on those minute little details of where your foot's landing, how your arm's out, how your body is leaning. It's almost tedious, and all of a sudden your brain starts to drift and you start thinking about homework that's due next week. You start thinking about some girl that goes to your high school. You start thinking about what you want to eat for dessert that night. But just like anything, the more you try it, the more you practice it, the better you get at it. And soon you'll find that you can visualize for 10, 15 minutes and be insanely focused the entire time because you're getting into this flow state. And if you can train your brain to enter into your zone, into this flow state where you're very focused at one task, that's going to translate to all areas of your life. Whether that's doing homework and zoning in on your homework, eliminating all outside distractions and just powering that out, or whether that's in your weightlifting sessions and really focusing on every single movement, your body, the muscles contracting versus having your mind drift off during the exercise and just going through the motions. Or whether that's on the field and getting into the zone where you're just firing on all cylinders and things are going well. Entering into that flow state is a skill that you can improve, and it is improved by doing stuff like meditation and visualization techniques. And then the final benefit to visualization is an increase in confidence and a reduction of anxiety. Just like anything else in life, you are more confident with stuff that you're comfortable with. That very first professional trial you go on is going to be very uncomfortable, and you're not going to be as confident as a seasoned veteran that's been playing for 20 years and has gone on a multitude of trials and has played for a multitude of professional teams because he's comfortable. He's done that multiple times. He's gone out of his comfort zone, expanded it, and now going on trial is in his comfort zone. And even though I'm a firm believer that you can really, truly only expand your comfort zone by going out in the real world and doing things that are actually uncomfortable, I still believe there is some truth to imagining those situations as a form of repetition and getting a little bit more comfortable by just visualizing those scenarios. When I was over in Germany and I was going on trials with different teams, when I found out that I had a trial starting on Monday with, SC Teutonia Vatsenborn Steinberg, and I knew I was going to go there on Monday, on Sunday, the day before the trial, I would go on the bus and I would take the bus to the facilities, to the stadium or wherever that team was, so I could just feel a little bit more comfortable, like I'd been there. I'd look at the stadium, I'd walk around, I'd look at the coffee shops around, I'd practice almost the route of how to get there with the bus system, and then I'd go back home. And then that whole night, I could imagine myself getting on the bus, practicing, the routes that I would go, which stop to get off, which direction I would walk to, what the facilities looked like, where the locker room was, so that when I would show up on day one of the trial, it was almost like it wasn't really day one. It was really day 1.5, because I already knew where the locker room was. I already knew where the stadium was. I already knew which buses to take, which stops to get off. It felt like I was a little bit more comfortable because I had gone and practiced the route and I had already visualized that first day of the trial. The final visualization topic I want to talk about is visualizing failure. They've actually done some studies to show that people who just visualize being successful, only visualize themselves succeeding and they never fail, that can actually lead to underperformance. So the best thing you can do is visualize yourself whipping in good crosses, scoring goals, beating defenders 1v1, but also at times visualizing failing. Visualizing that defender stealing the ball from you, visualizing scuffing the cross and it just dribbles into the box, visualizing skying a shot over the goal. And the reason for this is, one, to not get overconfident that every action is always going to work out, but also the fact of how do you respond? The defender steals the ball. Are you immediately throwing up your hands and walking away, or do you turn and immediately start applying back pressure? If you sky the ball over the goal, are you confident about it, go no worries next time, or do you put your head down and immediately become unconfident? And finally, you can also visualize what went wrong and how you're going to improve it. Sometimes I'll see myself whipping in a cross and I completely blast it almost out of the stadium. And when I'm imagining this, I'm saying, why did that happen? Was I leaning back too far and I really didn't commit, put my chest over the ball and try to whip that in? Like, why did I do that? And just like in the real world, I think that you can learn from those mistakes. So to sum up, even though visualization isn't going to replace your on-field training, nor is it going to replace your gym work, nor does it even really fully push you outside your comfort zone where you can expand your mental toughness, I firmly believe that visualization is a huge, huge tool for footballers to combine with their real physical training as a way to maximize the efficiency and effectiveness of their sessions. And I strongly urge all of you guys to seriously try out visualization techniques. So I hope you guys liked the video. If you did, please hit the thumbs up button, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. How'd I do on time?